Good day, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Alumni Unplugged, Lessons from the Trailblazers. And today we have Mr. Ashafaque Ahamed, a prominent alumni of our institute. He is from the batch 2005-2007 and is currently working as an vice president at IndusInd Bank. He manages the TASC department. So it is a pleasure to have you here today, sir.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you, Ayush. It is always a pleasure to come to the alma mater. Every time any alumni comes to visit the institute, he or she always gets nostalgic, and it is not different for me.
So we are all very curious to know about how Jaipuria has shaped your career and how has been your journey from being a student here in the campus to your current role as a vice president at the bank.
I can't say that it was just a snap of a finger because it's 16.5 years. But I cannot say that I fathomed them to be so long, as it seems that 16.5 years is a very long period. But when I look back, it doesn't seem that long. And Jaipuria has given me the confidence, the knowledge to face the corporate world, to do well in the corporate world. And I'm privileged to be an alumni of such a esteemed institute where I could, harness my skills. And they are actually helping me a lot now when I'm into the middle management. So it's been great, actually.
And what has been the key learnings which were instrumental and which you are using as your current role at the bank?
Actually, the academic learning one has, one undergoes during any learning period in an institute, they perish eventually. The academic one, yeah? Most of them. But the one that develop, the skills which you develop, the attitude which you develop during those academic years, or the projects that you do, the stress that you undergo while doing them, they help you much better. So corporate journey or life in general is about how you cope stress, how you make decisions. There will always be an opportunity loss when you not opt for option B or C, and there will always be a threat along with some gaining points when you choose an option A. So how you choose those among those three or four options that you have defines where you are going in your life or in your corporate journey. So it actually helps, the 2 years in Jaipuria Institute of Management actually helped me to become a decision maker, I would say. And then eventually, if you are taking a good decision at one point of time, and you are able to forego or not take bad choices in your life, so you arrive somewhere good in your life, and that's how I feel okay that I am doing good in my corporate journey.
Oh
so
yes,
far.
absolutely. You're working as a vice president, so you've been quite successful in your career, and you've talked about decision making. So, what advice would you give to the students who are studying here? That how can they, take good decisions in their lives?
Taking good decisions will always be fundamentally based on what your priorities are or who you are. I generally quote the lines in the movie Three Idiots, which Amir Khan said to his friends, that what would have happened if Lata Mangeshkar would have decided to be a banker, or Sachin would have decided to be a singer. So knowing yourself and your core competencies first is the key. When you know that this is my key interest area, and then you must make a focus on how you can excel in it. So the decision making will always begin within. You have to introspect where you are, what are your strengths. Will you be fatigued doing such and such work? Because any work, any corporate life journey or life in general, probably I feel is centripetal and centrifugal force. कुछ चीजें आपको अंदर की ओर धक्का देंगी, कुछ चीजें आपको बाहर फेंक देंगी, which we say is like centripetal and centrifugal force. So if you are able to maintain the synergy, or you are able to cope up with the speed which that organization or that life or that phase of your life demands, then you are there. And if you are not, then you will always feel lazy, you will always procrastinate, you will always feel that you are doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So it is just about knowing yourself first, and then you can take a decision in your life depending upon that.
Understood, sir. So, since you mentioned that you've been working for around 16.5 years, that was a very long time, and I'm sure that you must have worked at different organizations at different roles. So, although I'm not an HR student, but I would love to know. Please walk me through your resume.
Actually, I started my career, from Shimla, and the reason of choosing Shimla was very bizarre.
Okay.
I said that I would like to see a falling snow because I'm from Lucknow, born and brought up from the same place, and I don't know much about. So I thought that it would be a paid holiday. That's all I thought. And I was selected in the campus,
Okay.
and they gave me 11 options:
Uh-huh.
Delhi, Lucknow, Allahabad, Varanasi. I said, I know the places. And when they said Shimla, I said, okay. The HR said, have you been to that place? And I said, no. He advised me that it's a tough terrain, tough place for people living in plains. I said, no, I. So that was a, don't exotic decision that I took.
Okay.
But I don't regret it because it was one of the best days. I was there in Shimla for close to 3 years.
Okay.
In Axis Bank, then I moved to regional office Lucknow. And then after spending some five and a half years in Axis, I moved to Dehradun. Because again I wanted to see the hills and I wanted to spend some time in Missouri and vicinity, Rishikesh.
Yes.
So I took my decisions on the point whether I would be enjoying that place, that job, that role. That was my first priority. Because if you are loving what you are doing, and if there is a feel good factor, you will excel eventually. Because if you are craving, even if you are in heaven, then eventually you will fall out of heaven, I feel.
Yes.
And if you are very confident and motivated in hell, eventually there will be someone who will promote you to heaven from hell. So this is how I feel and I take my life to.
Okay, so earlier, as of now, you're working in corporate banking, if I'm not wrong. Yes. So earlier in your career, were you always into corporate banking, or were you?
No, I started my career in retail. Then eventually I developed, some keen interest in dealing with corporates, and I have been fortunate that I have been associated with reputed banks and reputed organizations, and even wonderful leaders who were my bosses. They helped me to make a decision that you should better move to the corporate banking. And it is always, a good thing to have very thinking and very positive supervisors and bosses around. And I have been fortunate enough that I have been around with, good mentors and they guided me from time to time. So I moved from retail to corporate.
In essence, what advice would you give to the students here? If they are thinking of a transition in their career, what are the factors which they should consider and how they should go about it?
Take one day at a time. Don't think too much, and transitions will eventually come. Once you are don't focus or don't start your journey by having a transitional thought of the transition from the world view. Go along, the transition will come. You will have to make some choices. As I said in the beginning, that if you are moving in an organization at a certain pace, and after some point time T, eventually the market will scope you up, and somebody will say that we are giving you this and this and so, and you have to make a choice again, whether you want to move along or whether you would like to sustain and continue what you are doing. And you have to make a choice, you have to make a decision at that point of time. So many of my friends, they have been associated with the single organization from where they have got campus placement. They are also doing very fine. Some of my friends have been hopping around, they are also doing very fine. And some, like me, they have been hopping, intermittently. I think I'm also doing fine. So it is just about, as I said, the opportune time and the decision you are able to make at that opportune time.
So, sir, I still remember you took a session, I guess, last year where we talked about principal-centered leadership.
Yeah.
And that was a concept which really intrigued me. And I really wanted to bring this into our conversation today. So,
I thank you that you brought this subject. It is a book written by Stephen R. Covey. I read during my MBA days.
alright.
and stayed with me till date. And he talked about what is actually right and what is actually wrong, and how a leader should define or go about his daily business, keeping those rights and wrongs in business. It said that there are some universal truths and there are some subjective truths. There will be your truth, there will be my truth, and there will be one actual truth. So the one who is able to align to that universal or the actual truth, living beside his own ego or biases toward the other party, will be able to make a good decision. And this is the generally concept of principle-centered leadership. So I found that very fascinating and very intriguing, and that's why it remained one of my favorite subjects where I talk about a lot.
Okay. And one thing which you also mentioned in that session was about networking. I've personally been through your LinkedIn account and I must say that it is quite impressive. So, what advice do you have for the students here that how important is networking, how important is to have a good LinkedIn profile? So,
देखिए, there is a doha which says कि चंदन में से आपत नहीं लिपटे रहे पूजन. It means the company has no effect on you. And there is also a saying that a man is known by the company he keeps. I feel I am slightly biased toward the second statement that a man is known by the company he keeps. So networking, not only in this era but since time immemorial, has been and it will always be the fundamental thing. We are humans.
yes.
There could be the biggest organization where you have the best of the best machinery, best of the best infrastructure, but at the end of the day it will be people who will be transacting business, doing things, and who will be making progress to that organization. So knowing those people in your team, outside your team, your colleagues, superiors, peers, in your industry, outside your industry is very critical. So I feel networking is a very serious thing, and one should, though I come to a point that people say, and I also feel, okay, I'm an introvert. I don't like to meet and go out and meet people a lot. So how can I do networking often? I feel that we all are ambiverts. One is not 100%
Yes,
introvert.
absolutely. Depends
One
on
is not
situation. Yeah.
one is not 100% extrovert or introvert. So one must try to know and meet as many people, because eventually you will learn much more if you get to know many people at different phases of your life.
So, sir, before we wrap up this conversation, uh, would you like to say something for our students here? Something that can encourage them, something that can motivate them?
Generally, what should I say? Matlab, I only, but being a senior, it's been more than, as I said, 6.5 years. So I can share some
Sure.
experiences where one can take a cue, and there is a feeling in me which says, okay, one must go deep dive. One must deep dive in the ocean or anywhere he or she is operating, because that way people will learn. I come across when I generally now I'm also in some of the interview panels, and people come and ask, sir, we will not be doing this work. We don't want to be in that particular vertical. They have a particular set of thing in an organization which they want to do. I generally feel कि if you are starting career, मतलब if you are just about to start your career, don't be a closed vessel. Try to understand and know as many verticals, as many functions as you can in an organization. It will help you. जैसे वो दोहा है ना वो, which I am not able to recall at this point of time, जिसमें वो कहते हैं कि जहाँ जिन खोजा तिन पानियाँ गहरे पानी बैठी, मैं बबूरा बोढ़न डरा रहा किनारे बैठी. If you want to have the jewels of the sea, you have to take a dive deep into the sea. And if you are just wasting time sitting at the banks, then you will kill time and you will not be able to find those treasures.
Okay, so the crux is that keep on exploring, keep on hustling.
Bilkul.
Alright, sir. So I guess this will be it. It was really nice talking to you, sir. And it is always a pleasure to have you at the campus.
Likewise.
You are one of the most charismatic, most energetic person that I've ever met. So it was lovely to have you here, and
Thank you
I
so
wish
much.
you all the luck.
Thank you so much, Ayush.